little bit about April and what it's all about. And a good morning to you, and thanks for taking some time to join us this morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from West Michigan CMH, and we do this on a monthly basis where we get a chance to talk about these topics that, well, sometimes it affects us personally. Sometimes we know maybe a family member or a friend or a community member. Maybe it's a coworker that has and is dealing with mental health issues that. Sometimes it's important for us to understand more about. And I would assume in your position with West Michigan CMH, you're the Children and Family Services Coordinator, that you want and more people to understand what you do and what your team does there at CMH, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We provide a huge variety of services, and the more we can get awareness out, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Today we're talking about the children's services, and honestly, I don't remember the last time that we focused on the kids in our communities in a topic in a subject like this. It's been a while, and I'm glad we're visiting that today. For our listeners, they can listen to this segment on air. We are streaming it on our West Michigan radio app and our video streaming on the Facebook pages and the YouTube channel. And we want it to be where there's so many outlets, I guess it would be, for people to get this information. So I'm glad you're part of this segment today. And before we even get started, I want to share this and with our listeners. We received this, Kirsten, a while in the month of March from
hmm
one of the segments that we did with West Michigan CMH. It's such a great partnership that we have when it comes to mental health and the awareness side of it. And I just want to read it. It said, Chris, I just watched the segment on West Michigan Community Mental Health with you and Lori on Facebook. I was impressed with all the information that was covered. I appreciate you providing the opportunity to get this important information out to the community. And she says, my son receives services from CMH and attends Dimensions, and getting information out there and advocating is so important. I would assume when you hear those words from somebody within the community that the services are benefiting, that's got to be rewarding and I guess so many other descriptive words for you and your team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hearing things like that is what keeps us going. And, there are tough days in this field. So hearing that we have positive effect, it's so heartwarming. And yeah.
Well, absolutely. And so I just wanted to start by reading that because I want to thank you and your team for all that you do, and I look forward to today's segment. Let's talk about Autism Awareness Month, and you have a lot of services for children within Mason, Lake, Oceana counties
Mhm.
available. What are some of those services that we can go over today? Would you help share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. We provide, case management on a regular basis. So every consumer gets case management. And part of that is and can include autism services if appropriate. But we also do provide therapy and youth peer support, which can be super important in helping teens learn to advocate for themselves, which is huge and can be difficult. Um,
Hmm.
and we also provide community living supports because it's important to have everybody in the community and learning skills and using the skills that they are developing.
Absolutely. And when you talk, and if you don't mind, I'd like to break down a little bit of that. When we talk about case management, um,
Mhm.
what happens with that? Is that where they're already working with somebody from the outside and then the kind of passing it on to you? Are you developing it as a new patient? And you don't call them patients there at CMH. What's the term that you call those that come in and interact with CMH?
We call them consumers.
Consumers.
And yeah, and case management is kind of the foundation. So when somebody comes into services, they and go through the access department, eventually they're assigned a case manager,
Mhm.
which manages the case at that point. Essentially, they help link and coordinate and monitor all services that they get.
And that's pretty important from the conversations that I've had with the team members there at CMH over the years. Um, the one thing that the one thing out of many that I pull from it is that there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of intertwining when it comes to the multiple levels there at CMH, and I would assume that's an important part of the CMH model, right?
It is, yes. The case manager is, the foundation of it, and they, help all those other ancillary. They untangle things and keep things hopefully running smoothly.
Absolutely.
Very
Uh,
valuable.
you have home-based services for children.
Mhm.
When I read that, I think about this. I say, sometimes, if I had to roll back the years, which would be many, to when I was a kid, that I would feel more comfortable in an environment, in a surrounding that I'm familiar with, right? And I would assume those home-based services, that's part of that. Do you mind elaborating a little bit on that this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most important things we can do is meet consumers where they're at. And if that means in the home, in the community, in the school, doesn't have to be an office. And the home is a huge piece of that. That's where the family is, it's where
Yeah.
the foundation is for the consumer. So,
Yeah, absolutely. You have wraparound facilitation.
mhm.
Take us through that. What is that?
That is when there are a lot of, or maybe multiple community agencies involved. So maybe it's individuals, with probation, with Staircase, with Cove, with school, Prevent to Protect. Where there's multiple community agencies involved. That
Mhm.
wraparound facilitator is the facilitator, right? Trying to link and serve all the resources for the consumer.
And by the way, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Kirstin VandeVoorde. I think I got it right. Hopefully, I did
Yes.
there. And this morning from West Michigan Community Mental Health. And more and more we talk about how those external services are more involved or supportive
Mhm.
of the children, even the adult programs that you offer as well. Um, in the time that you've been there at CMH, which is how long? How long have you been with the team there? If you don't mind sharing that with our audience.
And this role, year and a half as a case manager, 5 years before that.
So over those, almost 6 or 7 years, um, do you see where those external, the law enforcement and other healthcare facilities and such, that it has become a benefit? Has it supported those individuals that you are managing, but also supporting your team and you as a staff member there?
Yeah, absolutely. And, realistically, a consumer is with us a very small chunk of their day, right? They're out in the school specifically for many hours every day of the week, and then all those other community places the rest of the time. So it's super important to involve all of them and have open communication and, make sure we're coordinating and collaborating really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's deep dive into something called applied behavior analysis, ABA. That is something that you're probably very familiar with, obviously, in your role there. But for all of us out here, no, sometimes I won't include everybody because there's probably some. But what is that? And can you explain it in the simplest terms for us this morning?
Yes, so ABA is what we go know for short, and it is for consumers who may qualify based on having an autism diagnosis, and it really works on using positive reinforcement to build skills and communication, social skills, learning skills, and the goal is to decrease behaviors and really, really use that positive reinforcement through through ABA with behavior technicians and BCBAs to oversee that service.
And when you look at the behavior, and I think some people have this, and I don't know if stigma is the right word, but when they think of somebody with autism, um, sometimes, and I'll even clump myself into there, is that we think of them as hands off, as kind of avoid if we need to. Does it help them? But sometimes in that interaction or that behavior from the community and from that individual that you're working with, sometimes that's important to have some of those interactions. Is that right? Instead of sort of an avoidance of that particular person with autism.
Yeah, absolutely. They are an individual. They are important, and for most of us, all of us, being social is a huge part of that.
Mhm.
Saying hi and shaking hands, but respecting boundaries. Um,
Absolutely.
Individuals with autism usually have boundaries, and yeah.
Does it help with that interaction that's out there? Let's say you're, walking through the mall and you see, and I would assume you would do this with anybody out there, but if somebody with autism, greets you while they're passing you by, you have no idea who they are. But from our perspective, it's a good thing to be able to interact with people, and especially with somebody that has autism, to hopefully strengthen maybe confidence or some of their behaviors. Take us through that for just a moment, if you don't mind. Sort of that engaged interaction that's important to them.
The huge opportunity to use the skills that they are learning, probably, right? And
Hmm.
there's no, saying hi is, it might seem simple, but it's not. That is huge. And
Yeah.
it might be, like you said, confidence, that it might be a huge confidence boost and gives them the opportunity to practice and gain skills. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You also offer therapy there at CMH, youth
Mhm.
peer support services. We've talked a lot in the past that that's important to be able to have somebody that's on their same level, to be able to have a dialogue that is understanding and comfortable with them. Uh, Take us through some of those additional services: therapy, youth peer support. You've got some community living support, and also intensive crisis stabilization. Do you mind take us through those?
Yeah, absolutely. So therapy is a huge piece, or can be a huge piece. We do offer in-office therapy, but we do have a clinician that's assigned to Ludington Middle School, uh,
Mhm.
there, uh, full time, and so she's a great resource in that support as well. And that's for like that teen age, basically, and really helps them. Like you said, it's somebody who maybe has went through some, mental health struggles of their own, has unique life experience, and that can help the teen relate to somebody and really feel like they are important, and gain confidence in advocating for themselves, and building relationships and such.
Absolutely. One thing we haven't discussed this morning that I think is important is helping us define autism. I think in the healthcare world today, uh, there's always adjustments that happen. Things that this has been added to this category, or and you're learning all the time. Your team is, today you might read something, tomorrow it might be slightly different or enhanced or added to. But when it comes to autism, and now that we are in Autism Awareness Month,
Hmm.
what how do we define autism these days? Do you mind helping us to understand that more?
Yeah, it's unique. There's not a black and white definition to autism. Every individual is different. It's considered a spectrum where there might be usually it may be deficits in communication or social skills, learning abilities, it might have restrictive or repetitive patterns of behavior, but it really is a spectrum. There's not a black and white answer to what is autism. Every case is different. Every person's different.
Absolutely. Uh, and since we're focused on children in today's segment primarily, you are working with the school systems out there. Uh,
Mhm.
What do you see? Um, and this might be a little bit off of our path of conversation today, but what do you see that the educators, the teachers, the schools, what are they doing? That's my first part of the question, if you don't mind helping that with answering that, to make sure that there's more interaction in in schools, in the classroom, that there's more understanding, because I think back at when I went to school, and if we had somebody that was autistic in our classroom, um, there was always the feeling or the impression or that that person was different, that that person was kind of isolated in a way. Now, obviously, we fast forward and things have changed a lot in the school systems, or we hope they have. But do you see that there is still some isolationism? Is there better understanding? Are there systems in place to help with that interaction between students and educators?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the hope, right? That there is acceptance and there is inclusion. I think the goal across the board is that individuals of any circumstance, the hope is that they're able to be in the least restrictive environment
Mhm.
and in, general education classes as much as possible. Um, Super important for them and everybody around them, that the day goes on as usual.
Yeah.
And there might be accommodations here and there, but that's the goal, really. Inclusion and least restrictive.
Do you see, and I guess the answer probably is, it's a case by case, right? When it comes to this. But do you see that, it's well, and I hate to use the word better, because I don't think one is better than the other, but maybe you have a different opinion on it. Is that we talk about special education classes versus general education classes. do, ha- is there any statistics out there or any information that shows that one helps via the other? Not to play off of them. I don't want, that's not the necessarily question, but you know, I think when again, reeling back time, back when I was in school, you had the special education classes, and you rarely interacted with some of those students, even though they were your peers. They were the same age. They were just, some were friends and such, but some were like, hey, we'll see you in the morning, and then at the end of the day, hey, there you are again. Is there anything that has changed or helped in those two areas that we can talk about today?
Yeah, I would say that's not my super area of expertise, but from what, I do know is that, you know, the goal is, like I said, going back to that least restrictive environment and to not, to be in general education with peers, like peers, as much as possible.
Mhm.
And, may needing to go to different classroom for support in specific subjects or something like that. But the goal really is to be back together as much as possible to the best of my knowledge, and really about fostering the acceptance and getting people what they need in
Absolutely.
schools and
And
outside of school. Yeah.
And obviously, that's important that you have many staff members to help you with this. I mean, that's where it goes back to our
Yeah.
conversation just a few minutes ago, that there is so many levels of CMH, the West Michigan CMH, that helps. Uh,
Mhm.
on the list of my notes here, I see that you collaborate with the ESD. The Michigan Department of Human Services, CPS, Children's Advocacy Center, Staircase Youth Services, and you mentioned Cove and a few of those as well a few minutes ago. Those become very important in every situation. So, I guess my next question, if you don't mind, is for the parents that are listening out there. Um, y- how do you ensure that they're not worried about different services working together
Mm.
uh, for the benefit of their children? Do you mind talking about that this morning?
Yeah, we do our best, obviously. And, recently in the last few months, we've started monthly collaborative meetings. Lake Counties has been going for quite a while, where once a month, the partners come together at the table and brainstorm and talk about, situations and ways to best support.
Hmm.
In Mason and Oceana County, we started doing that a little bit more recently, where all those partners can come together and do our best, to figure out the best way to serve individuals.
Do you see that there's always, always might be not the word, but there's ideas that are fostering from these meetings, from these conversations?
Absolutely, 100%. And I feel like they grow consistently. There's always new community agencies that are interested in participating or that we begin working with. So that's more people, more knowledge of different areas of expertise, which is great. Yeah.
That's very important. Absolutely. Resources for the community. We obviously want our listeners and viewers to understand that there is a link to West Michigan CMH that has a plethora of resources available for
Mhm.
them and such. But there's also Michigan Parenting Resource that we want to talk about this morning. Take us through that for a few minutes and what that resource is if we haven't visited the website.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it's a free resource, which is amazing. And it's online, so it's accessible anywhere. And it has a makeup of videos and strategies that are made by real people who are using or have used evidence-based practices to support and strengthen parent-child relationships, to gain new tools for at home, to help with them and their kiddos, um, building positive behaviors and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
It really, really is a great resource, and it's free. You do have to log in and register, but after that, you're able to get access to everything. And it is great. So it's miparentingresource.org.
Okay, and we'll put a link in the comment section of our Facebook posts and YouTube for our listeners and viewers in that. But miparentingresource.org, great website with a lot of resources. And again, going back to the a few minutes ago of talking about how CMH continues to educate themselves to better the response for those consumers that you have that have come through the door. But in closing, I think it's also important that our parents understand that there's free resources and other resources out there to assist them. Because I would assume one of your jobs, or at least one of the staff members there that you work with, is helping the parents to understand what their child is going through and that probably, and again I'm assuming, but that can probably be as tough as working with the child sometimes too. Is that right?
It is super important to involve family and parents, guardians, foster parents, whomever that may be for an individual, and whether that's gaining knowledge and understanding across any area, parenting or learning skills, and resources like this can be great for that. And they can be available 24/7, which is, we have
Yeah,
crisis and such, but, if it's the middle of the night and they're like, I want to learn about this, something
yeah,
like that can help with it.
absolutely. What is your message as we close? And by the way, we want to make sure that the listeners and viewers know that you have the 800 number, which is 800-992-2061, and it's available 24 hours a day, which is great for those moments that come up, or because again. uh, there's the mental health can spread from one individual to others, and you want
Mhm.
to be able to have those resources available. And so we appreciate you doing that. But what is your message to and I'll break it down in a three-prong approach, if you don't mind. The first would be to the parents. The second would be maybe to the kids themselves. And then the third, and I'll remind you as we go. I don't want to overload you with too much, but I think the third prong is for the community in general. So, what's your message this morning to the parents in regards to autism, to the services that CMH has to offer, specifically to those parents?
We're here. We're here to help. We're here to provide resources and help you gain knowledge and um, help the family function at the best that that it can. We're here. Probably the
Absolutely.
same across the board.
Yeah, no, I would assume that. I would assume that. But there, when kids are in front of you for these services that you offer at CMH, there's probably obviously there's a different approach every time, based on the individual. But what is that overall message that you try to bring down to their level that might be different from the parental level?
Yeah, I think again that we're here and that we're a safe space. We hope to be a safe space. Um, we want to help them learn whatever we can to help them be successful and be able to function in everyday life and go out into the world
Mm,
um,
yeah.
without us, hopefully one day, right? And be able to be the best that they want to be.
Absolutely. Great information there. And finally, I know from a community standpoint, we are sort of the bystanders. We're observing out there, interacting sometime, learning as we're doing this morning. But what is your message to the community as a whole when it comes to Autism Awareness Month? Is maybe specifically or in general, for those individuals that we do interact with that have autism.
My plug to the community for Autism Awareness Month is really that we celebrate differences and we want to raise awareness. We want, hopefully, everybody to understand that every person is different and to foster that acceptance and celebrate
Mm,
the successes and the wins and
yeah.
yeah.
Because those do come along. There's no doubt about that, right? And it's rewarding for them, for the parents, for the guardians, for the educators, for their peers. But it's also a reward for your team as well in all that you do. So we want to thank you again for the successes, the opportunities to help those within the community in Lake, Mason, and Oceana counties. And again, if you are listening to this and you think your child has autism or has been diagnosed with it, or maybe just need a little bit of information, or even want to step that process, because sometimes it takes a phone call or an interaction to say, okay, what are our options? And
Yeah.
I would hate for I would hate for the parents or guardians or caregivers to not know that maybe that individual can advance further into their abilities, and sometimes it takes a phone call or a reach out, and we would love for that to happen, even if it's just one person today. That number 800-992-2061. Kirsten, I'll tell you this. I appreciate all that you do and your team at West Michigan CMH, and we appreciate you taking some time with us this morning as well.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And if you missed any part of this conversation, you can always tune in on 102.7 Mom FM or Hot Country Hits